What's going on, y'all? So behind me, I got my 2002 Ford Excursion 7.3. I've received a lot of questions about how I went with the 4-link setup on it from BDS, because these trucks come original with the leaf spring setup. So I'm just gonna bring y'all with me today, kind of show y'all what I've done, kind of give y'all a little bit of overview. It's not done, it's still far from done, but I got majority of it set up, so I just want to kind of bring y'all along, help answer any of y'all's questions y'all have had. If y'all have any more questions, feel free to contact me on Instagram, Heavy6.7, or just comment down below. I'll try to do my best to answer it. But like I said, I'm still far from done, still a big learning curve, but she's there, she's sitting around about at 12-inch lift. So from here, I'll just bring y'all along, show y'all what I've done so far. So like I said, she's still far from done, but I at least want to bring y'all along with me to show y'all what I've done so far. So for starters, after I got everything apart, first thing I done was put in the coil buckets. So from here, 1, 2, 3, 4, those bolts, those holes will be there. You will have to enlarge the holes to accept a 1/2-inch bolt. Once you do that, this hole is not here. You will have to drill that hole where it will accept a 1/2-inch nut and bolt. Same with the bottom. Those two will be there, but you will have to enlarge the holes. Once you have that coil bucket mounted on, I went to the bracket. From here, the first 3 holes will be there. The top nut and bolt will not be there. You'll have to drill that hole completely out. Under the bracket, you'll have 2 holes here. They will accept nut and bolts. The third one will not be there. You will have to drill that hole out to accept a 1/2-inch bolt. Back here under the front, I had a dimple in the frame, so I had to drill the trap bar mount out to allow it to sit as flush as it can. Then I drilled that hole to accept a nut and bolt. I still have to put a nut and bolt in this front one, which I'm just going to cut a small window out to get a nut in there where I can receive the wrench in there. Then also, I'm going with the 6/0 steering box. So 1, 2, 3 will come out. You will have to enlarge those holes to accept the 6/0 steering box, the bolts for the box. And then from there, the high pressure line from the pump to the hydro boost will have to be replaced. Then going back to the trap bar mount on the bottom, like I said, I'm still not done, still got a lot to do. The first nut and bolt, that hole will be there. You will have to drill out 1 and 2. Like I said, I'm still not done, so I've yet to do it. Also want to change my trap bar mount. It's not a big enough drop for as big as I went. It's just one I had laying around because it's winding up, causing an issue with my ball joint being in a combined. So I will put a bigger drop. And I do have an 8-inch drop pitman arm for the 6/0 steering box. Then onto the sway bar end links. The holes are here. All you have to do from the other frame or wherever you get nut and bolt, whatever, put your sway bar drop brackets here to allow the sway bar to mount in the original location. I still might have to go with the bigger one just because of the size of the lift, but the holes are already in the frame for the sway bar. Moving on to the rear. Rear's not as complicated, but there still is a good bit on the Excursion you will have to do. So for starters, you will need the 05 and newer yoke to fit drive shaft here. Me, just because I went with as big as the lift that I did, I had to get a spacer, which I'll put all that on once I get the new yoke in the mail. From there, I'll have to flip this bracket around just due to Excursion shocks mounting in the rear. Still waiting on my new 4-inch blocks to come in to replace the old blocks and old U-bolts. I just had to reuse them because that's what I had laying around at the time. And then I still have yet to run the brake cables yet. So that'll be simple. And then from here, the sway bar, you have a hole in your frame already for you to put a sway bar in link to allow sway bar to connect. I gotta build one or see about going with a heavier duty just because size lift, wheels and tires. And then being Excursion as well, you will need this sensor off the original axle. It's completely different than the 05 and up. So that sensor will need to be replaced. Longer brake line. Still have yet to connect this, so I'm not 100% sure yet. Sway bar, get mounted to an existing hole in the frame. That bracket will have to be flipped to the rear, so that way you can hook up the shocks. Moving back to the front, I just want to show the front drive shaft did reach. At a 12-inch lift, front drive shaft did reach, but it is very close to the cross member. So I may have to trim it a little bit, give it some love or something, or I may clock the transfer case later on and get a different cross member. But it does reach. But if you ever go to flexing, you could have a possibility of hitting that cross member and doing some real damage. But there she is. Front drive shaft didn't have to do nothing to. It rebolted back up to the 05 and newer axles. The rear, you have to change the yoke. And on my setup, I had to add a drive shaft spacer. So just to do a quick little recap and overview of what I've done. I used the 11 to 16 F250 BDS lift. I think it was a 8 to 10 inch lift. And I went through and I put a 2-inch spacer on the coil springs. You will need to make sure to grab the one with that drop bracket. I had to order the 6.0 power steering box and the 6.0 drop track bar. I said it's not done. I still got to get a bigger drop bracket. But the rear, you'll need the newer yoke. Front drive shaft works. Rear drive shaft, if you go this big, like I said, I'm sitting around a 12-inch lift on 26 by 16s with 38 1550s. Rear drive shaft, you'll need the spacer. Then pretty much everything bolts up. You'll have to enlarge a couple holes and drill, I think 12 holes in total. For the front to actually bolt in, it's a real simple process, not much to it, but it does look absolutely killer. I love it. Love the way it turned out. It should ride better since I got rid of all the leaf springs. But I've yet to drive it. Like I said, it's still far from done, but we'll get there. If y'all have any questions, like I said, message me on Instagram at heavy6.7. Comment down below. Let me know what y'all think. If y'all have any questions, just hit me up. I'll answer the best I can.